Today, though, there has been a lot of controversy surrounding comments made by Jeremy Clarkson in his newspaper column at the weekend. Talking about Meghan Markle, Jeremy wrote, Meghan, though, is a different story. I hate her, not like I hate Nicola Sturgeon or Rose West. I hate her on a cellular level. At night, I'm unable to sleep as I lie there, grinding my teeth and dreaming of the day when she is made to parade naked through the streets of every town in Britain while the crowds chant shame and throw lumps of excrement at her. A bit uncomfortable even reading this, actually. Everyone my age thinks the same way, he says. But what makes me despair is that younger people, especially girls, think she is cool. Now, Jeremy's daughter, Emily Clarkson, responded on Instagram saying she stands against everything he wrote. She said, my views are and have always been clear when it comes to misogyny, bullying and the treatment of women by the media. That is his daughter, Colleen. Extraordinary words from a very well-known journalist and broadcaster. What did you make of it this morning?
I mean, applaud for his daughter. Amazing. What did I make of it this morning? I'm absolutely horrified and disgusted that he would write that about anybody and comparing... Fair enough if you don't like somebody, you know, we can't all like everybody. But what he wrote was everything that, you know, if you've watched this series, is everything that they've been getting since day one, really. And now he's done it again. He's proved them right all the way along because it's absolutely disgusting. And in my opinion, he shouldn't be allowed to write that. I think it's hate speech by saying someone should be paraded through the street with excrement thrown at them is shocking, to be honest with you. And I just think... I mean, you know, I always, when I sit here, I think, imagine somebody writing that about your daughter or about your wife. How would you feel? Yeah. You know, and Harry's had to put up with this from day one. And yes, whatever you think of them, they feel they have to speak out because nobody's been in their corner, whatever that is. But what he's written has just proved them right. And I think he's an absolute disgrace. And I don't think he should ever say that people of my age, because I'm near his age, and I completely disagree with him, and thank God for the younger generation.
Janet, he's been a columnist for a very long time. He writes things to purposely shock. He writes things so that we potentially are sitting here today talking about it. Where do you stand with it, Janet? Because you also get what it is to write a column.
Yeah, I've written a column for 50 years, and columnists are paid... if you're that kind of columnist, you're paid to be controversial, to get people talking, which is exactly what he's achieved. I'm not condoning what he wrote. I'm not saying I agree with it. But you've got to see where it's coming from. The Sun needs to sell a lot of newspapers. The editor's a woman. She would have, Victoria Newton, she would have read the copy. She would have thought, well, that's done the job. That's going to get everybody talking about the Sun, and at the same time about Meghan. The allusion in the column to parading through the streets is actually not made clear enough that he's talking about a scene from Game of Thrones, and he's actually using that as a simile. Now, as for whether it constitutes hate speech or not, it is distasteful, it is disgusting, but we live in an era of free speech, and as a columnist, my editor doesn't tell me what to write and they don't change what I write. And I do get loads of nasty comments, but I accept them. And the same will be true for Jeremy Clarkson. Whether saying you hate someone constitutes hate speech, I don't think so. I think we have got more sensitive about that. Although, as a woman, I find what he writes about her repulsive. And I have to ask myself, would I write that about a man? Well, probably I wouldn't. But it will have gone through checks and balances editorially because the Sun has published it, and as publishers, they bear the responsibility legally for whether it broke the law or not. And unfortunately, these days, we get much more upset about things than they did 200 or 300 years ago, because Britain is the home of brilliant caricaturists, satirists and comic writers. And 200 or 300 years ago, there were routinely cartoons of the king with his head down the toilet, the king with all his bits
but that was
hanging
200 or
there.
300 years ago.
No,
I was
it
gonna say,
doesn't
Janet,
mean...
I'm
Hang
sorry,
on, it
but
doesn't mean
you know.
because you're not, you know... It doesn't mean that we've moved on. We've moved on to cancelling, it seems to me.
It's not even about cancelling, Janet. You said something about free speech. Everybody is entitled to their free speech. Say what you think. But this is hatred. It is hatred. You can't say that it's not. It's inciting. It's inciting for somebody to be hurtful or hatred, or do as he says and run around and chuck something on another person. It's irrelevant whether it's a man or a woman, and it's irrelevant whether he was trying to liken it to Game of Thrones. This is a horrible thing to say about somebody who has had loads of mud slung at her for no reason whatsoever, apart from the fact that she fell in love with somebody. He's obviously a hater of her because he's dreaming about her at night time. He's got obviously a problem there if he's dreaming about her at night time in the first place.
Personally,
But
I am not writing
it's...
about Meghan. I've stopped writing about Meghan and I've stopped having an opinion about Meghan because it's not worth it. Life's too short, and I think there are a lot more important things in the world than...
But I think you need to start with everybody trying to be kind in the first place, no matter what.
No, I don't want to see the end of free speech, and that might include...
It's not about seeing the end of free speech, Janet. It's doing the right thing and just being a nice person and doing the right thing.
If I have a nice world, it's not realistic.
Woe betide somebody says that about his daughter. Woe betide.
And it does go back to the Be Kind movement that sort of we all talked about for such a long time. It sort of seems to have been slightly forgotten.
It's irrelevant
which
for some.
Which is a
Oh,
very
I'm going to be kind,
thing.
give Brenda a big hug now.
OK, well, that's nice. And, you know, it doesn't happen very often, Brenda, so you've got to take it when it comes.